Hello and welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to be learning how to set up our first IntelliJ project. To get started, click on Create New Project. This will bring up the new project window. It will be defaulted to Java project. And as for the project SDK, we will leave it defaulted to the latest version it gives us. As for the additional libraries and frameworks, we're going to be leaving them as is, so we're not going to click on any of those. So go ahead and click Next. We won't be messing with any of the templates in this video either, so go ahead and click Next again. Here it's going to ask for a project name and project location. So if you go to the right-hand side of your screen, click on this little box by project location. It will bring up your home directory. In my home directory, I have a folder called My Projects. It's important to note that every project that you create should be given its own folder to be stored in. So I'm going to right-click on My Projects and create a new folder. I'm going to name mine My Hello World. And go ahead and click OK. Once you have the folder that you want it stored under selected, go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to keep the project name defaulted to what it gave me. Change it. Go ahead and click Finish once you're done. Now we're looking at IntelliJ's UI. For you, because it's your first time opening up IntelliJ, it'll come up with a tip box. You are more than welcome to go through some of the tips and tricks that IntelliJ shows you. For now, go ahead and click the Close button if it does show up for you. We're going to go ahead and look at some of the views. So on the left-hand side, you have your project window. Inside of it should have two things: My Hello World file, or whatever file you named it, and the external libraries. Open up the folder that you have your project stored under. There should be three things there: the .idea folder, which will have all the project-specific settings. Again, we're not going to mess with any of these things. You'll also have the source folder. This is where we're going to be storing all the files that we create for this project. And the myhelloworld.iml file. We're not going to mess with this, but this stores information about the development modules that IntelliJ gives you. Above the project window is your navigation bar. This will tell you where you're currently at in IntelliJ. Some things to note before we get started is in the project window, you are able to collapse or hide the project window by pressing the hide bar, and get it back by either clicking on the project bar on the left-hand side or using the command Alt-1 or Command-1, depending on the computer that you're using. Gear here. Two things that I like to have turned on are auto scroll to source and auto scroll from source. You're more than welcome to have those on or off as you choose. What that does is if I decide to open up some files in IntelliJ, this is automatically going to highlight what I have open in my project view. So if I decide to go over to modules.xml, it's going to highlight that in my project window and vice versa. So if I click on compiler.xml, it's going to pull it up in IntelliJ in my view window. So let's get started by creating our very first class in IntelliJ. We're going to click on our source folder and right-click on top of it. We're going to go to New Java class. I'm going to name mine Hello World. Once you've got a name, click OK. And IntelliJ is automatically going to create some documentation for you as well as the public class. Inside of our public class, we're going to create the main method. Something to note about IntelliJ that maybe some other IDEs don't have is what's called code completion. So as I start typing, IntelliJ is going to bring up what's called a lookup list. And these are all suggested things that IntelliJ thinks I'm trying to type. So if you want to select one of these, you can either use the up and down arrow and or your mouse to get to the ones that you want. And once you've found it, go ahead and click Enter, and it's automatically going to complete the word for you. So So now that we have our main method, I'm also going to create one other method in our IntelliJ or Hello World class, and I'm just going to call it addition, and it's going to take in 2 ints, and it's going to add them together and return the result of them. So one other neat little view that IntelliJ has is what's called structure. This is also on the left-hand side of your screen. So if we click on it, it's going to show the current structure of the class that we are in. You're also able to get to this view using Alt-7 or Command-7. For now, I'm going to stick with the project view. So let's put some things in the main method in order to run this. I'm going to create 2 ints that I can pass the method. And I'm also going to create an object. So again, code completion really helps here. So when I have an object, IntelliJ is going to try to interpret what method I want, starting with the methods that I've created in my class. Once I have that method selected, it's going to try to help me out by saying what I need to pass for parameters in this method. Now I'm going to print out the result that was passed back from this method. So now that we have something print out, we're going to run it. It will be compiled and made and ran with what's in called terminal, which will be found in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. The very first time you run this project, we're going to go up to the class that we've created in source, and we're going to right-click on it. We're going to go down to run hello world.main. Note that IntelliJ will automatically save, compile your code, and will run the results that will come up in terminal. So there we go. The result is 17. Now if we go ahead and change this, so let's say if we wanted to pass in a total. And we decided to change x to total instead. We can go ahead and run it from other views. So we can run it from the terminal or at the top of our toolbar. So there we go. The result is 14. So one other thing that I'd like to show you before we go is what's called refactoring. So there's going to be times in your code where perhaps you have a result in your project more than once. So let's say we have X in a lot of different places. So we decide to do X in 1, 2, 3, 4 different places. And we decided that X wasn't a very well descriptive name. It was actually representative of, say, the number of apples that we had. What we're able to do is we can highlight it, right click, and go to this refactor option here. In refactor, you'll find rename. And what this does is IntelliJ goes ahead and looks for all X's that you created that's from this specific variable that you created, and it's going to go ahead and rename them simultaneously. This way, you don't wind up missing renaming a variable if you do go through a project and try to rename a variable. And to commit this change, we're going to just hit enter. And there you go. It renames it in all 3 of the other places. Again, IntelliJ usually does save your code automatically, but you are able to save it up in this top left-hand corner. And that's all you need to know to get started on your first IntelliJ project. Good luck.